Hi, he's Mattyman.
And he's Vannyboy, and you're listening to The Rusty Playground, a Gen X-centric podcast where we talk about everything involving the coolest generation.
That's us.
Which we happen to be.
We happen to be. Yeah. In this very special episode, we'll be wrapping up our discussion of the Big Four by talking about one of our very favorites, the A-Team.
If it seems like we're jumping into the middle of a larger discussion, that's because we are.
That's right. As usual, we're wordy and lose track of time. We were going to talk
edibles. Don't forget about the edibles.
The edibles. Yeah. I did kind of forget about them because edibles. We were going to talk about all four of the shows we call the Big Four, the Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Häagen-Dazs. Wait. Oh. And if you don't know what that's about, then you haven't listened to the opening of the last 4 episodes.
And shame on you. And the greatest American hero,
Knight Rider.
And our very special episode tonight is on the biggest of them all, the A-Team.
So go into your garage, grab some paint, super glue, M&Ms, cat litter, and an old VHS tape, and get ready to blow this place up as we talk about the Mr. T Show.
The A-Team.
That's what I said.
Speaking of amusing, we are on the last and biggest of all of the Big Four.
Amusing, you mean unintentional?
Yes, unintentionally. And that would be in 1983, the A-Team.
Dun 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 dun
dun dun dun dun
dun dun. You've seen how many satires have we seen over the years? When they play the music and we see people doing the slapping something together on the van and making a flamethrower or whatever crap.
Yeah, the montage.
Yeah.
It was great. So the story behind the A-Team is that Brandon Tartikoff, who was in charge of NBC at the time, he went to Stephen J. Cannell and Frank Lupo. Frank Lupo famously had made Hill Street Blues and a few other things. So he was successful as well. And of course, Stephen J. Cannell created a lot of stuff.
I love to make some Hill Street Blues, man.
Yeah, Hill Street Blues was good. Hey, you be careful out there.
And right. Let's all be careful out there.
That's right. And so, they were all very successful producers and stuff. And Tartikoff said, hey, I want y'all to create a show, and I want it to be a combination of Mission Impossible, Mad Max, The Magnificent Seven, The Dirty Dozen, and Hill Street Blues. And it has to feature Mr. T. So no pressure. Go for it.
Oh, man. Can we get somebody just kind of looks like Mr. T? No, it has to actually star him.
It has got to be Mr. T, or else anybody
is that his actual name? Well, we don't really know.
Yeah, his name is Mr. T. First name is Mr. Last name is T. Come on, how's that so hard?
Yeah, come on, dingus, let's go.
So they're very shrewd about this. I guess when they made it, they realized that they probably had something that was going to be fairly successful because they put it on immediately after the Super Bowl. So 24.5% of all television viewers in America watched the first episode. 24.5%. That's some hellish numbers. Yeah, that's big time. Eventually, it was nominated for 3 Emmys. I'm not sure if that was the first year or second year or whatever, but the premise of this show was that former Vietnam vets, each a specialist in their field, were wrongly accused of war crimes. They were put in prison and they broke out. And then while they're trying to find evidence to clear their name, they need to make money somehow. So they become hired mercenaries. They go from town to town. They never want to stay in the same place too long. And they help people solve problems that normal people can't.
They help people within an area of something they're looking for in terms of evidence.
Yes.
I'm assuming.
Yes, it's
because I haven't watched it so long. I'm just assuming that's got to be the convenience factor. Like, oh, we got to go to this place because we know we're going to pick up this tape or something.
So the good thing and the thing that helped make it last is also the thing that killed it in the long run. And that's that it was episodic. And for the uninitiated, what that means is that each episode was basically self-contained. So, with rare exceptions, they never mentioned like past adventures or anything like that, other than the fact that they were trying to clear their names, which was also handled in the intro. Eventually, that, like I said, the format caught up with them because it became very obvious. It was always the same. It was they go into a town. There's a client, prospective client, who meets with a middleman who they ask about the A team, and what the middleman asks them questions, and then he'll reveal that he's actually Hannibal Smith, and you've just hired the A team. Then the next time you see them, they're trying to figure out who the bad guys are, and then once they do that, the bad guys are like, "Hey, let's fight these guys back. We're not going to take this lying down." So they're going to come and attack them in a house that they're holed up in, and that gives them time to make, like BA, who's played by Mr. T, gives him time to, slop together, or MacGyver, if you want to say, a bunch of stuff that, explosives and, nail guns and glue, and you name it, they'd put stuff together. That,
yes. Yeah. And somehow he has welding equipment. Thank God he's got that wherever there.
Yeah. He's got, torches and, all that kind of stuff. And so he makes, booby traps and whatever, that somehow, even though it's explosive devices and things like that, people don't get killed. And that kind of becomes a running joke for the fan base. They never mention that in the show, but if you've ever watched more than two of them, you'll realize that, hey, this guy in this truck was driving, and this log fell out of a tree and hit him in the front, and it exploded.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They went flying through the air, and when they landed, now they're kind of limping away as the burning wreckage explodes. Nobody ever got hurt. There was never blood. That was something that was the writers. And when I was doing my research, Stephen J. Cannell said that in the writing room, it was kind of a fun little exercise for them to come up with these little vignettes that they knew that they'd be able to film, where, someone falls out of off the three motorcycles come rolling by, and they, out of nowhere, they bring down this wire that's right at neck level, and they all hit it going 80 miles an hour. And then you see them walking away holding the back of their neck like, "Oh man, I kind of twisted my neck."
Yeah. Instead of being like beheaded.
They're completely decapitated.
Yeah, the way you say it is the way we would say it now.
Yeah, right.
That's old school.
Yeah, yours is homogenized for the citizenry, I guess.
Yes. The peasants.
The peasants. Now they had that formula, like I said, and it would always start out with Hannibal, and once he accepted it, most of the time they'd have to free Mad Dog Murdoch, who was the pilot that they had. Now, Mad Dog was called Mad Dog because he was supposed to be,
he was mad.
Yeah, because he was crazy. Dwight Schultz, I believe is his name, the actor. He was brilliant in that role, but basically he wasn't actually crazy, but he pretended to be crazy, and they always hinted to it, and he would act crazy, and no matter what, Mr. T would get all pissed off, and he'd still be, act crazy like he wasn't scared. It would take Hannibal to be like, "All right, Murdoch, calm down," and that's the only way he actually would, show that he was messing with them. BA, Mr. T, was afraid of flying, so every episode they had to find a way to get him to drink the milk that has the knockout serum in it or whatever, and he'll wake up. "You put me on an airplane, Hannibal, make me really mad. I'm gonna kill you. You go wake up one day and your dick's gonna be in your mouth. I wonder how it got there. You think I cut it off, but I didn't cut it off. I just broke you in half and put it in there." Yeah. So, which is kind of probably closer to the truth than you'd think.
And also, he'd say, "Hey, am I on a plane? And also, did you draw this stick on me?"
He
sorry, I had to do that.
Yeah, they didn't actually like each other. George Peppard and Mr. T. I don't think many people liked George Peppard, to be honest. I think he was a real jackass. Like, there was one story that Dwight Schultz, who played Mad Dog Murdoch, was talking about, or was telling, where they were invited to go to somewhere in the Netherlands. There was like a fan thing, so they thought, oh yeah, we'll go there. They got invited by the government who was going to fly them out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, George Peppard thought that he was the only one they asked. We're big fans of you, so we called you up and wanted you to come here. He didn't realize that they invited all 5 main crew.
Oh,
and
boy.
Yeah, so when he found that out, he canceled. And so all the rest of them showed up, and it was like thousands. And it was so many people showed up that they actually had to cancel it at the time, because they were like, this is a safety issue here. And so, it was one of the most popular shows in the world at the time for like a couple years.
Yeah, I think people now just know them as like that ragtag team.
Yeah.
So it's a trope at this point.
Yeah.
And like I say, the numerous satires, like I know at least I think I can think of Family Guy, The Simpsons.
I mean,
name it. Yeah.
Friends, anything like that, where they had we've got a limited amount of time to do something. And you'd hear that music play, and you'd see their hands working to try to put stuff together. So it became a trope, and everybody liked it, and it was super, super popular for the first 3 years, I think. And the first couple of seasons, like I said, it was a runaway hit. Season 1, it finished in 3rd spot behind Simon and Dallas. Only one of those has anyone ever heard of outside of us. In the second season, it made it to number 2, losing out only behind The Cosby Show, which was, of course, a massive runaway hit. The show, like I said, it had violence in it, a lot of violence, and no one was ever killed or even seriously injured, with the exception
because it's a family show, man.
Yeah.
It's your actual death.
Yeah, right. And they did have it once, though. They had General Fulbright, which was the main bad guy that chased them throughout the first like 3 seasons, basically. So whenever, they would barely get out of town at the end of the episode when Fulbright would show up. And he was convinced they were bad guys. But in one episode, the episode he gets killed in, they rescue his daughter, who was played by Tia Carrera.
Okay.
So she'd been kidnapped, and they
tell me more.
They protected, or I should say, they rescued her, and in the process, they were working with him, and he realized, you know what, you guys must have been wrongly accused. I'm going to do my best to get a pardon, and then he was killed, and that was the only person that was killed in any kind of in the show at all. So,
right, but that one actually has a lot of significance, but just going against your usual bad guys,
right?
Like, seriously, all this is going on, no one drops.
Yeah, I mean, it's flames, flamethrowers, like you mentioned, and homemade hand grenades and stuff like that, and nobody died. The cars would flip upside down and roll down hills, and they'd be, they get electrocuted on a tin roof and fall off 25 feet, and they'd get up holding their back like, oh, pull a muscle. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
How about the fact that they're on the lam, they're trying to be incognito.
Yeah,
that's not how you do it.
No, they got that very unique van with it's black, and it has a red stripe, and then the front part of it looks black, but it's like really more like a charcoal gray. It's a matte finish. So it was hard for us to see it when we were kids, because the TV,
TV is like more grain than pixel.
Right. But when you see it like now, pictures of it and stuff, you're like, oh wow, that van was actually 3 colors, not just black and red. It's pretty wild. Now their merchandise was everywhere. You could not escape it. Probably Kiss was the only one who had more merchandise than the
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Did Kiss have a cereal? In their day, and not to say years later, they go, hey, everything else is Kiss branded.
I don't think so.
Isn't that crazy to think that as big as they were, they didn't have their own breakfast cereal? I know why, because they were considered satanic.
Oh yeah.
There's
Unlike,
no way. Yeah. Too controversial.
Yeah. Yeah. And they would have, they'd had to be like, blood O's or something. They'd have to be, they make your milk red with blood, that kind of, so the A-Team was a big hit. I loved it. Now the first, I think the first 3 seasons, it was on for 4 seasons, I believe. The first 2 were big hits. It's really declined on the 3rd season. And so that's why they decided on the last season, they didn't know it was going to be the last season, but on the last season, they ended up with, so the last season, they were captured by the Army, and Robert Vaughn played Hunt Stockwell, which was, what a great name for the military guy. Hunt Stockwell,
yes.
beef sizzle chest. And and he so he was the military guy that called him, and in order for them to gain their pardon, they needed to work with the military. And this was just trying to break the monotony that people had, really had a lot of, they were wary of the same, every episode.
They realized it was this, it got to the point where, similar to Kolchak the Night Stalker, whereas that show, they ended up in a Monster of the Week format.
Right.
They couldn't get out of it. It's the same kind of deal. You're stuck in this trope.
Yeah.
It's so formulaic. It's, even kids are going to get bored of it. Everything
they did, I mean, every episode was exactly the same, baby. He meets with them. He reveals that he's Hannibal Smith. They find out the problems. They get Mad Dog to escape. They have Face Man, infiltrate the bad guys. They get caught. They do the montage where they create a bunch of stuff. They blow up the bad guys and never hurt them. And then they get out of town right before they're captured by the military. And that was literally every episode of it until the final season.
Yep.
Season 5. So there were 4 seasons. 2 of them were highly regarded. The 3rd one did really well. The 4th one was very, it had dropped a whole lot. And then, so that's why they changed the format of it. But by then it was too late, and whatever. But it was good while it lasted, and made a lasting impression on us.
I didn't remember if the actor Dirk Benedict, was he still on? Was he on every season?
Yeah, I believe he was. No, the pilot had a different actor play Face Man, but that actor was very young looking, and he was a sophomore in high school in real life. He was a sophomore in high school when the Vietnam War ended. Now, these guys were all supposed to be Vietnam vets, so he just looked too young and it didn't work. So they replaced him with Dirk Benedict. Now, they wanted Dirk Benedict in the first place. Stephen J. Cannell did. But, they couldn't, the studio wouldn't let him do it until they did that first pilot. Then they were like, yeah, you were probably right. I always remember there was one thing that always kind of made me smile in the intro when it was, coming up and show, Dirk Benedict.
Oh, is this where he sees a picture of himself in character as Starbuck?
No, it's an actual Cylon walks by him.
And, okay.
And he like points at it with his mouth open, like, hey, never mind. And then he walks off. Now, Face Man was an actor, right? So his character was an actor. So it, there was just a nice little nod. I always got a kick out of it. But
I thought I was guessing it right. Oh well.
No, you were close. You were very close. And speaking of misremembering things and everything, I always remembered that, years before we met, and we had recorded stuff together in some kind of crazy time loop that doesn't make sense, and no one should try to think about it.
No, well, just tell yourself it's just a show, and it's not trademarked. We can say that.
Yes, just calm the hell down, and so calm the hell all the way down, as the kids would say now.
Yeah.
But you and I both.
You know what they also say nowadays?
What's that?
I appreciate you.
No, they don't.
And I got you. And go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Word. Go back. They say word and stuff like that. So anyway, you and I, we were hanging out, and we were, I remember it. I remember it fairly well, but I found an 8-track the other day, and on it, it said Mattyman and Vannyboy, the A-Team.
So even though it was the early 80s, somehow we had an 8-track recorder.
Yes.
I mean, that actually records onto that 8-track format.
Yes. And actually, funny enough, I thought it was the Muppet Movie 8-track, but I had somehow taped over that.
Oh, yeah. You probably set up to where the tab, you like just, made sure that part that you break off.
Yes.
You just taped over it, man.
I did, because I was tech savvy. And by tech savvy, I mean it actually just broke off, and I didn't know what to do. So
yeah.
But
so at that point, it was just like, I'll try anything.
I'll try anything.
Literally, I will try anything. This guy will do it.
Yes, and believe me, when we went to college, we tried anything.
Yeah.
So I haven't got to listen to it yet. What I had to do at the process, I took the 8-track and I had to have it converted to a cassette, and then take that cassette and then put that in this other thing that recorded it to an actual 45. And then I had to do both sides of the 45 because apparently it was too long. And then I had to take the 45 and have that reverted into digital.
That all sounds credible. It sounds like that's how you would get to digital format. Sure.
It was worth it. I'm sure it was worth it.
Yeah, there's 15 hops to every known media. Okay. Yeah. Did you get it put on wax cylinder? You got to do that too, right?
No, I didn't put it on wax cylinder because in all transparency, I used a lot of the money that we've been trying to save up for marketing for this to buy a few things that allowed me to convert it from those different things. So,
okay. Well, thank God. Thank God we've got some of that money.
I'm telling you about it now. I should have told you before I did it, but
this really does seem like a bit I've heard somewhere. But hey, can you trademark a premise?
Hey, repeat to yourself. It's just a show. You should really just relax.
Man, yes.
Come all the way down. Wait, we already did that bit. Yeah. Anyway,
catch me outside.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not. So yes, just back to the A-Team.
Back to the A-Team. So this was the recording. You and I are going to hear this for the first time ever, with our audience of hundreds of thousands of people. And so
by that I mean 5.
And they're all our friends. We're going to let know. So
shout out to John Kavash. We're trying to do stuff that's like more, 70s or 80s.
Shout out to Van, who's going to be listening to this multiple times and laughing at his own jokes. So
he laughs at his own farts anyway.
So. That guy, well, yeah, I'd rather die than ever get too old to laugh at my own farts. So let's listen to this, and we'll see.
Without further ado.
Yes, I don't totally remember it, but anyway, here it is.
Hey, Vanny, you want to play Bay Baracus from the A-Team?
Sure. How do you play?
Well, first you go find some pipes and some tape.
Yeah.
Then we get some air compressors that are probably laying around nearby.
Okay. Then what?
Then we get nails and razor blades and hot glue them together.
Hot glue? Sure.
Then we take some bleach and ammonia.
Wait.
And we get some vinegar and baking soda.
Hold on, Matty. What was that about the bleach and the vinegar?
And we use shoestrings to keep the pipes together.
Wait a minute. We need to back up just
then
a bit.
We point the pipes at the busy road over there.
No. I want to talk about the bleach.
And then we add the vinegar to this gas can and drop the bleach in there.
Dude, seriously. You really need to think.
Then we take the baking powder and mix it in with the ammonia.
My God, you have to stop. No.
Put the nails and blades in the other end like so.
Mattyman, I don't like the look in your eyes. You have to stop. I'm only an artist, but even I know you don't mix bleach and ammonia.
Then you drop it all in the can like so, and...
We interrupt this broadcast of the A-Team to bring you a special message from the President.
My fellow Americans, I'm sorry to interrupt this patriotic children's show,
But I have a special message to remind youngsters not to mix bleach and ammonia, not to play with nails and razors, and not to use pressurized homemade rifles in an enclosed area. Only a fool would do this, and, well, I pity the fool.
Whoa.
Man, that is intense. And
that was like a national thing. How did I not remember that?
That's just madness. Thinking that, it's just literally it's the haves and the have-nots. The people who can get what they're trying to get, and then the people that are, they have everything, but then it's just not good enough.
Well, I guess
there's a parable there somewhere.
I guess when all the stuff blew up, it must have just knocked it out of our collective memories together. I don't know, but it was cool that.
Yeah. I mean, I had a psychotic breakdown, and I really felt like, what's real anymore?
It may have been the first, but it absolutely was not the last. So I accept you and love you however you are, Matty Man.
Yep. There's always that time I could ask, why? Why?
Yeah, we're gonna have to tell him that at some point. But at this point, we've got a minute left, folks, and
and hopefully you liked you enjoyed everything we found in our found footage.
Yes.
Hope you learned something about the Gen X life. Hope everyone is happy and sound, and doing 420 weekend, doing justice to it.
And if not, that's not my problem, because I'm a Gen Xer. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want, man. Screw you.
Yeah, I don't care. Do whatever, as long as it doesn't hurt me or cost me money. Yep. So, and on that note, he's been Matty Man.
And he's been Vannyboy.
And you've been listening to The Rusty Playground. We'll see you next time, folks.
Yes, on the other side. Peace out.
Peace.